Assalamu alaikum everyone. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Ordinary Days. In this video we are going to discuss the arteries, the venous supply, the lymphatic drainage, and then the nerve supply. So let us focus on the arterial supply first. Let me zoom in a little bit. So let's begin with it. We have two types of arterial supply. First arterial supply is by the internal pudendal artery, and the second arterial supply is from the femoral artery. Now this internal pudendal artery gives off three branches. One is the deep artery, another is the dorsal artery, and another is the artery of the bulb. First of all, we have the deep artery. Now this deep artery is going to run in the corpus cavernosum, and it is going to break up into like small arteries or arterioles, and then when it follows a spiral course, what do we call it? We call the spiral course a helical course. So the arteries are named helicine arteries. Let's have a look at it from the book. So if this is the corpus cavernosum, in the corpus cavernosum we have the deep arteries. These deep arteries which are present in the corpus cavernosum, they have this helical course. That is why they are known as the helicine artery or helicine artery, as you can pronounce it. Sorry, the page got turned. Then we have the dorsal artery. Apart from the dorsal artery, let's focus first on the deep artery and the artery of the bulb first. Now this artery of the bulb, this artery is going to run in the bulb as well as in the corpus spongiosum, and it is going to majorly supply the proximal portion of the corpus spongiosum. So if we have the corpus spongiosum over here, in this diagram you can see the corpus spongiosum, and it has the artery of the bulb in it. So the artery of the bulb is going to supply the corpus spongiosum in its proximal part only, and also it is going to supply the bulb portion in the root of the venous. After that we have the dorsal artery. Now this dorsal artery, it runs on the dorsal surface, and it is deep to the deep fascia. The deep fascia is also known as the Buck's fascia if you watch my previous video. So that artery that was deep to the deep fascia, now this artery is going to supply the distal portion of the corpus spongiosum, like the outermost half, the distal portion of the corpus spongiosum. Along with that, the corpus spongiosum gives off this dilated portion, that is glans, so it will supply the glans. Apart from the glans, it will also supply the foreskin or the prepuce, and there's a median septum on the ventral surface, and that median septum is the frenulum. So everything that is present on the distal half of the venous, that is the distal half of corpus spongiosum, the glands, the prepuce, and the frenulum, all of that are supplied by the dorsal artery. And the deep artery, which was present in corpus cavernosum, the artery of the bulb in corpus spongiosum, and the dorsal artery, all of these three are branches of the internal pudendal artery. Now we have another artery, the femoral artery, which is mostly known as the artery of the leg. Now the femoral artery, it has a branch which is the superficial external pudendal branch, because this reproductive region is majorly known as the pudendum. So and it is the external pudendum or the external genital region. So the half of the name comes from here. So external pudendal, and since it is a superficial branch, so superficial external pudendal branch of the femoral artery, it supplies the skin as well as the superficial fascia as well as the deep fascia of the venous. So this is all about the arterial supply. Now we will move towards the venous supply. So now in the veins, we have two types of veins, which are majorly the dorsal veins, and they are unpaired. They are superficial and deep dorsal veins. Now when we were studying the fascia of the penis, we talked about the superficial fascia, and the superficial fascia was very much thick, and this superficial fascia had the vein which was known as superficial dorsal vein. And then we had the deep fascia, and deep to the deep fascia we had the deep dorsal vein. So this superficial vein, it lies actually in the superficial fascia, and it is going to supply the foreskin as well as the major skin of the venous, and it runs in the subcutaneous tissue, or you can say that it runs in the superficial fascia and inclines to either right or left side. And this, because it is superficial, so it is going to open into external pudendal vein. Now this deep one, which is deep to the deep fascia or the buccal fascia, it supplies the glands as well as the corpora cavernosa. So it is going to supply the corpora cavernosa that were on the sides, and the glands, which was a distal dilation of corpus spongiosum. So corpora cavernosa and the glands, all both of these, they are going to drain into the deep dorsal vein. Now because this drains the glands, so it is going to course in the midline between the dorsal arteries, and near the root, that is the root of the venous, it passes deep to the three things. Now I have this diagram over here. So as you know, this is, for example, consider this is our vein, that is the deep dorsal vein. Now this deep dorsal vein, it is going to drain from the glands, as well it is going to drain from both the corpora cavernosa. After draining from these three, it is going to pass now under the suspensory ligament. If you have watched my ligament video, you know this is the suspensory ligament. So under the suspensory ligament, then secondly under the pubic arcuate ligament, and then the anterior margin of the perineal membrane. So the deep dorsal vein passes beneath this pink suspensory ligament, the arcuate pubic ligament, and the anterior margin of the perineal membrane, and it passes deep or onto the lower part of the pubic symphysis. At the point where it passes to the anterior margin of perineal membrane, it divides into right and left branches, and these right and left branches, they are now going to uh, join with another type of vein, that is the internal pudendal vein, and both of them, the right and left branches of the deep dorsal vein as well as the internal pudendal vein, both of them now they are going to drain into the prostatic venous plexus. So for the superficial one, which was draining the two types of skin, the prepuce and the penile skin, this one, the superficial one, drains into external pudendal vein, whereas the deep one, it is going to drain into the prostatic plexus, but the accompanying vein with it is the internal pudendal vein. I hope you understood with that. Now we're going to talk about the lymphatic drainage. Lymphatic drainage is further divided into two things. One is the glands and other is the rest of the whole organ. The glands, it is majorly draining or drained into the deep inguinal lymph nodes, whereas the rest of it is draining into the superficial inguinal lymph nodes. So if we divide it over like this, so the whole of this is draining into superficial inguinal lymph nodes, but the glands, it is draining into the deep inguinal lymph nodes, but the lymph nodes are inguinal ones. Now we can talk about the nerve supply. First of all, we need to know that the nerve supply is sensory. It is supplied to the muscles of the root, and also it is autonomic. The sensory nerve supply, it is further divided into two parts, or it is getting from two parts. One is the dorsal nerve and one is the ilioinguinal nerve. Dorsal and ilioinguinal for sensory, or ID. I is for ilioinguinal, D is for dorsal nerve. This is the sensory nerve supply. Muscles at the root, they are supplied by the perineal branch of the pudendal nerve, because the root of it is lying in the superficial perineal pouch, and so a perineal branch of the pudendal nerve would suffice. So muscles, perineal branch of pudendal nerve. Sensory nerve supply, ID. I is for ilioinguinal, D is for the dorsal nerve. And now the autonomic nerve plexus, it is further divided into or autonomic nerve plexus, it is coming from pelvic plexus through the prostatic plexus. So you have, the whole pelvis is like this, your pelvis, it has its own plexus. From the pelvic plexus you have a prostatic plexus, and from this prostatic plexus you get the autonomic nerve supply, which is further divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic ones are vasoconstrictors. Sympathetic ones are also always going to constrict, whereas the parasympathetic ones, they are vasodilators. They have S2 S4 nerve supply. One thing that you need to always know is this parasympathetic one, whenever it is going to dilate the arteries, the smooth muscle walls, this dilation will cause erection. So parasympathetic will cause PE is for like the physical activity classes that we used to have, the physical education. So this one, the P is parasympathetic, and this P will cause erection. So this is all, because this is vasodilator, so it will dilate them, it will cause them to be engorged. If you want to know more about the mechanism of erection, you can watch that in my another video where we talk about the histology of the male external genital organs. With that, we are done with the anatomy of the whole of external genitalia, that is the penis. In the next portion, we will talk about the scrotum, the testes, and the epididymis. Inshallah. Meet there. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And let's meet with another informative video. Inshallah.